Benvenuti, signore e signore, ladies and gentlemen, welcome, good evening. I'm super happy to be here tonight helping you share some information regarding Da Milano Winery and overall Da Milano Wines. My name is Tom Cooney and I represent Da Milano Winery from almost 12 years, and I'm in charge mainly of United States market and Asia, so very big area but overall very far apart. I would like to start, quickly say thank you very much to Christian and Maria, so Chris and Mary, from the Wine World Bistro in San Diego, and I'm very thankful on behalf of myself and of the Milano family to be here tonight. Very exciting time. Of course, I wish I could be there physically because as an Italian, as you can see, with all these hands gesture, it would be more impactful on you. But anyway, very happy to be here, super proud actually to be here. And I'll tell you a quick history. When I went in agriculture and enology university, when I finished, we were talking about 2003, 2004. So it looks like yesterday, but it's been already almost 20 years. I came in San Diego to study English for a month, so I've been there afterwards, but now, and of course, San Diego has a very sweet spot in my heart. We have a beautiful lineup tonight. All the ones that has been selected are very unique, and you're gonna hear from me a lot of time this uniqueness, very characteristic of Barolo wines and Nebbiolo wines overall. We're going to start going through a very ambitious project that started in 2018 with a rosé, only 400 cases per each vintage, going in a crescendo of intensity with Barbera Diaste, Barolo Classico, and Barolo Cannubi, the wine of the king. Outstanding vintages, like I'm sure, and that's unfortunately I cannot taste by myself. The food pairing looks very delicious and beautiful. On a side note, I would like also to thank you, Paris, the wine consultant from Winebowl, because it's been very close to me in order to make sure that since we are Italian, they know that we can keep in schedule, and they know that we have very difficulties with the technology. So I apologize if the video is not fitting on the high-end standard, but I like to say that in Italy, especially when it comes down to enologists or vineyards or wine itself, we tend to be more on the rustic side, a little bit more, I don't want to say improvising, but very al vivo, dal vivo. So it looks like we are doing together. Now, let's start. Today, we're going to tell you briefly the history notes of the Milano family, but also of every single wine varietals and every single wine that you're going to taste. So starting from the Da Milano family, two very important dates. 1890, when they started producing Barolos, and 1935 were basically the year, it is actually the year when they actually purchased the first 2 hectares of Barolo Cannubi. And this is the one actually that we're gonna discuss later. So Barolo Cannubi is like the vineyard of the king, literally in the heart of Barolo, close to the castle. Now, going through, so those 1890, when they started, 1935, the first acquisition of iconic vineyards, unique in all the world. But, of course, family dynasty, which means actually today I represent the 5th generation, so I'm actually introducing Marta da Milano into the business. She's 30 years old, but she's starting to travel with me. Unfortunately, recently we had to stop again, as you know, and that's the reason why I'm behind an iPhone instead of being there physically. We've been in Russia, we've been in north of Europe. I was in US recently for the Wine Spectator Grand Tour, but now I have to be precisely located here in our summer house because unfortunately we cannot travel at this time. I'm sure that as soon as we're gonna be able to fly back again, I will be in California, specifically in San Diego. So that's not just a word, it's a promise. So to Chris and Mary, let's try to see when we can schedule 2022 physically together because it's gonna be fun, it's gonna be interesting, but we gonna actually be together. And the goal of tonight is actually be together in a different shape. Now, the first wine that you have is Rosato. As I mentioned, Rosato for us is a new project that we started embracing circa 5 years ago. The first batch is 2018. It's a batch done in a small quantity, just 400 cases. So we're talking about very small amount. We actually do a sort of pre-sale of allocation. Is done only with Nebbiolo 100%. So it's very simple from the vinification process. When we harvest the Nebbiolo, and Nebbiolo generally is the last of the harvest season, so we're starting with Dolcetto in an average vintage. The harvest will be, I guess in the end of September, the last week of September, you start with Dolcetto and Barbera, and then by the beginning of October, middle of October, you go with the Nebbiolo, and then of course with the Nebbiolo for Barolo. Remember, in Italy, harvest, it's a very important time of the year. I think it's probably similar to your Thanksgiving. So we have a beautiful enthusiasm, a big vibe. Everyone come toward to the vineyard. Everyone, actually, young kids, old fellas, everyone wants to, is allowed to come in our vineyard and do the harvest. And of course, it's not simple because of course we have a high hill, very deep slope, but in the end of the day, you know what you have to harvest till Nebbiolo. When it comes down to Barolos, especially the single vineyard, it requires a little bit more skill, so a little more very clinical eye to see, because you can do already some selection into the harvest point, and that's very, a little bit more difficult. But regarding Barbera, Nebbiolo average, everyone could do it, and I invite you all to come because it's a very beautiful time. It's starting already the truffle season. There is the cheese festival going on in the village, and there is a lot of people from all over the world. Especially, we were super surprised how these two last year with the COVID and everything, people drove from Russia, people drove from North of Europe, people drove a lot instead of taking flights. And so that was a very big sign of how Nebbiolo wines, Barolo village, and overall truffle and cheese are very important worldwide. Now, the Milano family, and going back to the beginning, the Rosato, it's very simple. It's very done. Why? After we harvest Nebbiolo, we put inside the soft press machine, and you let it sit. So by the weight of the grape itself, the first juice that comes out, that's what we use for Nebbiolo. So generally, we don't have even control of the intensity of the color like a lot of people think, like, oh, I wanted pink salmon like Provence. This is just Mother Nature. You harvest Nebbiolo, you put in the soft press, and the first, actually, we call like natural, squeeze, goes down on the tank, and then you actually starting all the vinification process specifically for Rosato. Again, a small project, but also to show a very unusual approach, which if Rosato is done with Nebbiolo, it can be aged. Of course, we recommend the drinking within 2 years or 3, but still, with Nebbiolo, it's got some mineralities and structure that can be aged. Again, Rosato, food pairing wise, very flexible, very versatile. I see here you have, let me read to be careful because you have a very good, excellent wine selection, but also the food is outstanding. So you got the muffuletta panzanella salad, which I love it. You got some salami, some mortadella, typical from the city of Bologna, where I went in agriculture university. So I can feel already the smell. It's unique. And then we have, of course, some dried tomatoes, olive vinaigrette, and giardiniera, which is actually pairing very well with the acidity of the Rosato, which is actually responsible to transfer into your palate with the freshness. The acidity has to be read as a freshness. Now, going forward, da Milano, it's a very, I would say, compared to other Barolo producer, not a big winery. We produce roughly 300,000 bottles, of which 120,000 of Barolo, and the rest split equivalently. I'm sorry, but my tongue has a little rusty when it comes down to English. Equivalently between Nebbiolo, Barbera, Diaste, which is actually the wine that we're gonna discuss, and of course other like Dolcetto, Arneis, very autochthon varietal that you don't have tonight in your dinner. So let's be focused a little bit on the Barbera Diaste. I grew up basically like Barbera Diaste in our winery is like holy water. So basically, you drink Barbera almost every day. Don't get me wrong, I mean, we drink carefully. Every day we do almost everything. So we pair Barbera with pasta, with tomato sauce, with fresh cheeses, with salads, with charcuterie as well. So we're not very um, crazy when we think about the food pairing for the Barbera, because for us within Dolcetto is the everyday. What is the uniqueness of the Barbera Diaste? So, quick historical note: Barbera Diaste, it represents already 50, if not more, percent of wine production of all the Piedmont region. So the Piedmont region, it's the northwest of Italy, close to French and Switzerland. So we are very on the edge of Italy. Now, there is a reason why. Number one, historically, we trace it back proof of existence of Barbera already in 1500, so even before. So it's been in the region for 600-700 years, so it's been very massively presented, and also was very important. And here it comes again a big help. You know, my grandfather used to be on the Second World War, and somehow he always been grateful to the American, soldier, because they said the American came and saved us. So in this case, American did another good job. So we had problem in late 1600, I think 1695, when officially we imported the Ruth stock from America because you were resistant to phylloxera. So again, historically, you help us a lot, guys, and we are proud of that. That's why we love American. And then, of course, we actually grafted with the Barbera Diasti, and thankfully today we have still Barbera Diasti, another very important varieties, still present, but overall still capable to deliver outstanding wine that we want to share with you. Barbera Diasti, very important, purple color, very recognizable. When you smell it, you smell vino, you smell something very fruit forward to the grapes, but beside the profile, historically has always been the wine for everyone. It's always been the wine, again, that it was very easy to pair with almost everything. It doesn't do any aging time, even though in ours we have only 20 hectares, so we treat this Barbera as our Barolo. We don't do any different procedure, so low yield, everything is high-end checked. We of course vinify before the Barolos, but again, very high quality Barbera, always ranked among the best quality price Barbera in the market. And the reason is not because we are good in what we do. I don't want to take all the credit, guys, but it's just because we have a beautiful vineyard in Casorzo, nice altitude, southeast exposure, amphitheater shape, and low yield. So Mother Nature, again, for us in Piedmont, it drives the quality probably for 70%, if I have to spend a percentages. Now, it's a very quick question. Traveling all over the world, it's funny. I was in Hawaii. They have a pineapple ham and pizza. I was in Brazil. They have chicken and palmitos pizza. I went in Thailand, and they have a sort of pizza with fish. So the world, it's very, big, and the culture, the food of culture, likewise. So every time I got email, which wine should I pair with pizza? And then my wife and I, we came with this answer 20 years ago and said, I guess the best pizza wine is the Barbera, because somehow it can embrace different toppings, from meat to vegetable to spiciness to sourness to sweetness and so forth. So to give you a very precise answer, the Barbera is probably the best wine to pair with pizza. Now, after this parenthesis here, you have better pairing. You have braised chicken puttanesca fettuccine, and the option with wild boar ragu, parmesan polenta. And actually, I like the chef's suggestion that also the wild boar ragu can also, of course, work very well with Barolo, because generally in Italy we pair this food also with Nebbiolo. But tonight, of course, the choose was the Milano Barbera Diasti 2019. And since I'm talking from 14 minutes, which in Italian, it's easy, but we also use the hands, so we got to make more difficult. I'm actually drinking some Barolo Canubi and keep up with my breath. Fantastic. So, now, the Barbera, of course, it's very well profused. Historically, I mentioned quick notes, 1500, so after medieval time, has been present for a while. Very not necessarily being expensive wine on the market to buy a good quality. Matter of fact, we've been selected a few times like in the best 25, $30, depending on the state, wine that tastes like $50 to give you, you know, a quote. Also pound for a pound. That's a very everyday wine and I recommend you. And it's also very important to read all the Milano wines in the key of Barolo wines. So for instance, for us it's important always to highlight the equilibrium, the balance, the harmonic, you know, like when the wine are very harmonic, and the cleanliness. So which actually probably in English is better translated as smoothness. And so we like when the wine is very smooth, very silky. But at the same time, if you check your watch, our wines, they keep going for a minute 30, 2 minutes when it comes down to Barolo single vineyards. So we actually have a lot of, you know, potential in terms of long-lasting wine. Even a simple Barbera, it's a very well done wine, very, very well balanced. Now, finally, we are hitting my favorite spot, our favorite actually soul for the winery, which is the Barolos. And unfortunately, I'm not there because I would like to hear like, wow, bellissimo, fantastico. I would like to hear a very, you know, echo that comes out from your table. But in Italy happens. So, and generally when we do wine dinner, even people, when they starting to drink Barolo, they starting to see the change of intensity, structure, minerality, tannins, complexity, and they start actually to embrace what we call also meditation wine. So wine that they needs a little bit of time to taste, a little bit of focus, but also they completely breathtaking you for your thoughts. So when a wine does that, it means it's a very good wine. Now tonight you have the luxury and the fantastic opportunity to have two among the two most beautiful vintage of Barolo of the century. So you have Barolo Classico Le Cinque Vigne 2015 and Barolo Cannubi 2016. Now, starting from Le Cinque Vigne 2015, Le Cinque Vigne, which is actually means it's a classic Barolo, 5 different vineyards. So please practice some Italian for me. I would like to hear Le Cinque Vigne, the 5 different vineyards. It's done basically considering the old school, so sort of, you know, before the 80s, before the appellation of the single vineyard was officially introduced, it was very common to blend 5 different vineyards in 5 different subzones, considering the fact that each vineyard was quite strong in one main characteristic. For instance, one vineyard from, you know, Barolo had big shoulder versus one for Novello had a cherry predominant note versus one from, you know, Serralunga as a structure versus one from Verduno has more smooth tannins. So within this project that we started actually a while ago, we have Barolo Classico Le Cinque Vigne, vintage 2015, amazing, fantastic. Everything was very synchronized with the vineyard. Was a slightly hot versus 16, but 16 is even better. So honestly, by the drinkability, I believe now in 2015 shows better than 2016, but again, it's very subjective, and they are both, I would say, almost equivalently outstanding vintages, ready to be drink, or if you're patient, please buy it now and actually stock in your cellar, because this is going to be more valuable, it's going to be also more drinkable, enjoyable in the next 10, 20 years. Now, excuse me, when it comes down to aging time, you know, we don't do anything different between Barolo Classico and, you know, Barolo Cannubi. They are both very important wine for us. Giving you some number, Barolo Classico Le Cinque Vigne, we produce 80,000 bottles. Barolo Cannubi, we produce 25,000 bottles. So vineyard age and the Classico, it's about 30 to 45 years old. On the other, 40 to 70 years old. On the Cannubi, 40 to 70. So you will see also different soil and of course different age of the vineyard transfer in a different wine profile. Now I see here you have with Le Cinque Vigne, of course, what is calling this wine is just mainly two things: mushroom, venison, and truffle. So these three is like sort of what we eat the most, especially we have a seasonal truffle, but we have also a fantastic seasonal mushroom. We recommend to open, of course, an hour before to, express the full potential. But when it comes down to the Barolo Cannubi, which I have it here with you guys because I'm drinking with you, so I want to just show you. I don't know if you can see it, but oh, Cannubi. And we put actually the king chess piece because was basically the vineyard of the king. So in medieval time, of course, tell you some story. The vineyard of the king, of course, was not harvested by the king himself, but we had the monk. So the monk at the time, this is generally also true for French, for Tuscany, for Veneto, all the top world wine of the old world. So the monks were capable to study books and actually read the star system and read the soil. So they were very into that. And even today, basically the best sites are actually the one that we, has been picked by the monk in medieval time. I'm sorry, my bulldog is like sometime barking and drinking. She drink water though, so don't get me wrong. But if you hear some unusual noise, it's just her that she's almost 11. Booby, can you move it? Can you go on your chair there if you don't mind? Actually, they call English bulldog because they don't follow rules, and I believe she's also Italian. So combine it both together. You can ask her whatever she wants. She always is drivable with food or if she need to go to sleep. So parenthesis closed. Let's go down in some detail. This is the wine that I like to be called terroir driven. The reason is because Uniqueness of Cannubi is a hill of almost 32 hectares where there are circa 12 to 15 producers. As the Milano, we actually harvest almost 10 hectares. So majority of the production of Cannubi available into the world, I would say 1/3 is under the Milano brand, but fortunately is always almost sold out. So in this case, 2015 has been sold out. I'm sure that they have possibility when I'm meaning sold out is from the winery. So I'm sure that in United States market there are chances to get some couple of cases in allocation. Majority has been sold in all the top market in the world, especially Hong Kong with the truffle auction. And then Japan, and then of course Singapore, and then Dubai, and then of course the capital of Europe between Paris, actually, to give you some information, London, Berlin, and then of course even South Africa, and majority of course in United States. So definitely a must for Barolo lover, definitely tons of history, but let's go down a little bit on the detail regarding the soil, the uniqueness. Cannubi, which literally means cannubio, it means basically when you put two things together and it works. So million of years ago, two plates crashed into each other and they generated this hilly crest of 33 hectares almost that are run by 45% of sand surface soil. And then on the bottom, going downward, you have, of course, equivalently clay and limestone. Now, what is the uniqueness of having the sand on top surface? Number one, Barolo appellation is a dry farm land, so we cannot actually irrigate. We cannot add water. And number two, if you have a 350 meter going downward, big slope, amphitheater shape, but overall sand on the surface, it's drained very quicker. So when it's snow or when heavy rain, Cannubi vineyard is always the more prompt to absorb water and use when the plant will need it. So it takes basically more difficult vintages to have a bad Cannubi, let's put it on the way. It's always a beautiful vineyard that drives, even in a challenging vintage, fantastic, long-lasting, structured, elegant wine. Matter of fact, is always being recognized one of the most elegant Barolo into the world. Among the top producer you will actually enjoy Cannubi because it's very gentle in the beginning, very fruit driven, very rose, violet, lavender, and then of course it develops in balsamic notes, in licorice, and something truffle notes, mushroom notes. It's very playful, it's very fantastic. And if you think about, I'll give you a funny story. When I have people that come to the winery and they want to try Cannubi or other single vineyards, they said, oh, I want to see the winery. And actually, Chris came. So Chris actually is a perfect witness. and you can actually ask him, because if you don't trust as an Italian guy, of course you have an American on your side. Joke on the side, we don't do much in the winery. I mean, everything is done by Mother Nature into the vineyard. And actually, our great grandfather used to say, we do the wine into the vineyards. We don't do much into the winery. So when you came, of course, there are, stainless steel for fermentation. Big body, we use big body, even around 100 hectoliter, because we like the wine to get together and to be very ripe at the moment when, after the 2 years of aging in big body, you put for other 2 years in bottle refinement, and then after 4 years, Cannubi and Barolo Classico Le Cinque Vigne goes into the market. So basically, before you have the wine, it's almost being gone 5 years, especially with the logistic time that we are experiencing today. Now, I see my timer is 25 minutes. Again, I hope to give you some information, some historical attachment, more than details regarding vinification and stuff, because that's, of course, it's provable when you come to see me into the winery. So I'm actually having an open invitation to everyone is coming into Piedmont in the near, proximate future. Please, send me an email, because you're gonna be our guest at the Michelin star restaurant that we have. And unfortunately, I was not able, to do a video at more integrated and professional level, because we have a sort of people with COVID here and there, so everyone is sealed, is locked down. Even restaurants are working with a very limited capacity. So it's again, it's a challenging time, but again, my heart, my blessing comes along with, of course, all of you, all of your family, all of your beloved ones. I'm sure that 2022 will still have some hiccup here and there, but honestly, from the heart of my heart, I would like to wish you all the best in everything, personally, professionally, health-wise, and overall, at your beloved ones. This is a very wishful thought that goes along your table, among your glasses. And I would like also to thank you again, Chris and Mary, for the outstanding job. I can't wait to be there in San Diego. You won't believe me. I can't wait to be down there. And of course to Paris to organize everything. Anyway, if you have any question, they have my email and my phone number. It's super shareable. We are producers, so we don't have any secret. Please use it, and I'll wait you here in front of Da Milano Winery at the door, and then we're gonna walk just right after into Barolo Cannubi Vineyard, which is just not even 500 meters on the left side of the main entrance. And if you come during, the truffle season, we can organize a truffle hunting season live. Ciao.